Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this conference. My lecture aims to find an answer to the question of whether and in what sense, in the light of Benedict's thoughts, hope can be placed in science today. First of all, I will present the specificity of Christian hope according to Benedict, and then I will characterize Benedict's approach to science. I will indicate what the Pope understands by the notion of scientificity, how he presents the question of the aim and progress of science. I will then present the concept of doing science as hope in action. The lack of hope in today's culture is recognized as a characteristic feature of it. The contemporary magisterium of the Church signals that hope is fading among many people and entire communities, and presents various causes and manifestations of this state of affairs. John Paul II writes of a fading hope. Benedict, posing the problem even more radically, points to a crisis of hope and a spreading of emptiness. He states that the current crisis of faith is, above all, a crisis of Christian hope. At the same time, the issue of hope occupies a significant place in Benedict's thought. He sees in the message of hope an opportunity for modern man. In his teaching, Benedict notes the universal and indispensable need for hope, but not any hope, but a solid and reliable hope. He indicates how to make the flame of hope constantly alive in the heart. The Pope gives the most comprehensive answer to the question of the essence of Christian hope in the encyclical Spe Salvi. The essential idea of this document is the message that whoever does not know God has no hope. Hope was offered to believers through redemption. According to the words, "In hope we are already saved." The Holy Father, following the testimony of Scripture, states that hope, in fact, is a key word in biblical faith. The Pope conceives of faith in close connection with hope. He does not only point out that hope must be based on faith, but that faith is hope. He justifies this thesis on the basis of the New Testament and the faith of the early church. In several passages, the words faith and hope seem interchangeable. Faith is the substance of things which the Christian expects, the evidence of the existence of those realities which he does not see, but which are already present in an initiatory way. This is a definition of faith that directly links this virtue to hope. The Pope points to different types of hope, though he does not define them, but gradates them. He writes of small, faint, and greater hopes, from which he decisively separates the great true hope. At different stages of life, man has small and larger hopes. Sometimes it seems to him that the fulfillment of one of them will completely satisfy him. However, when the small hopes are realized, it turns out that they cannot satisfy man fully. He needs another hope that goes farther. It becomes clear that only something infinite will suffice for him, something that will always be more than he can ever attain. Benedict therefore makes it clear that the great hope can only be God. He states, "We need the greater and lesser hopes that keep us going day by day, but these are not enough without the great hope, which must surpass everything else. It is only the great hope that liberates and gives the certainty of faith that one is loved to the end, and that whatever happens, one is awaited by that love. To come to know God, the true God, means to receive hope." Benedict's approach to science. In his lecture at the University of Regensburg, which is one of the strongest defenses of reason in the entire Christian tradition, Benedict questions the essentiality of the modern self-limitation of reason, manifested by taking as the criterion of scientificity only that which results from the interplay of mathematical and empirical elements. The Pope rejects the positivistic idea of science, which limits it only to the experimental natural sciences, because they do not explain existential problems of man, such as his dignity, origin, destiny, and the sense of life. To know the mystery of man, anthropological, philosophical, and theological research is also necessary. According to Benedict, reason needs faith, because without faith it is limited. Only reason that opens itself to faith is fully itself. Faith makes it possible to expand the space of rationality. Although Benedict carries out a critique of self-limiting modern reason, he does not mean to say that one should make a backward move and go back to the pre-Enlightenment era. Moreover, Pope Benedict considered the most forceful defender of reason in the postmodern apotheosis of weak thinking. In his view, one should not reject the entirety of the beliefs of modern times, but it is worthwhile precisely to recognize the greatness of human achievement in what is good in development. The Pope points out, the modern development of sciences brings innumerable positive effects, as we all see, that should always be recognized. However, he knows that one cannot stop at naive, carefree, and unreflective joy. This is why Benedict proclaims the need to broaden the concept of reason and its unreflective application. It is worth noting that the postulate to open up reason and expand the boundaries that modern times have artificially imposed on it, it is one of Ratzinger's central postulates. Through the application of mathematics to the natural sciences, human power has grown and continues to grow. Unfortunately, at the same time, it often turns into a danger that threatening people and the world. Benedict stresses that scientific and technical knowledge should always be applied with a sense of responsibility and for the common good. The mathematical and natural sciences alone are incapable of fathoming the whole truth about reality, and their methods of investigation cannot be regarded as the highest, only valid rule of conduct. These fields of knowledge cannot replace philosophy and revelation by giving an exhaustive answer to man's most radical questions. Questions about the meaning of living and dying, about ultimate values, and about the nature of progress itself. According to Benedict, authentic, full progress of science is possible only when it meets the criteria of protecting man and supporting him in his pursuit of the true good. The Pope shows how throughout the centuries the development of science and its progress have been connected with man's hope, and this phenomenon began in modern times. A new scientific method took shape, and experiment played an increasingly important role. Man could reach an understanding of nature and the laws that govern it. Francis Bacon, who developed an empirical theory of science, saw inventions as its highest goal. Moreover, he believed that the interdependence of science and practice and its effectiveness opened up a new vision of the world. This is also given a theological application. The new correlation would mean that the dominion over creation given to man by God and lost through original sin would be reestablished. Thus came the belief in progress. Benedict shows that the above concept was not a one-off isolated view, but had a continuity in the following centuries. Benedict criticizes the belief in progress. The Pope argues that it is absurd to believe that man can be saved by science. Those who shared the idea of liberating and transforming nature by science for the world and people were wrong. Man can never be redeemed simply from outside. Human freedom is something indelible. It cannot be replaced by any external structures. The mathematical and natural sciences are certainly helpful in the process of humanizing the world and humanity, but they cannot be expected to do what is beyond their reach, which they set for themselves within the world. Science, however, while giving generously, gives only what it is meant to give. Man cannot place in science and technology so radical and unconditional trust as to believe that scientific and technological progress can explain everything and completely fulfill all his existential and spiritual needs. If one intends to make science the primary object of hope, it must inevitably fail. Without being directed by forces transcendent to it, it may even come to the destruction of man and all that surrounds him, so also of science itself. According to Benedict, today's culture is marked by a lack of wisdom and reflection, and a lack of thinking capable of formulating a guiding synthesis. In this context, it is all the more important to assert that it is not science that redeems man. Man is redeemed by love. Without love, even science loses its nobility and humanism. However, the Pope does not mean only human love, for it is fragile and destructible by death. What is needed, therefore, is love that is unconditional and absolute, and such can only come from God. In the light of the Pope's thought, therefore, man cannot place an infallible hope in the science, but the Christian's involvement in the field of science can be considered in the category of hope in action. According to Benedict, the work of contemporary scientists is to reflect the greatness and beauty of Christian hope. Pointing out that Christian hope has to be learned, the Pope emphasizes that the first school of this virtuous prayer And the second important place for its acquisition is action, which belongs to human existence as an essential part. According to the Holy Father, all serious and upright human conduct is hope in action. The Pope indicates that union with God does not distance man from this world, but enables the person to remain in the world doing what is right. Through activity, people try to fulfill their small and larger hopes. They make an effort to fulfill one task or another, which is significant in life. They want to make the world better, more beautiful and radiant. They want to broaden their possibilities and horizons, so that in this way doors are opened for the future. The professional handling of science is of this type. It is an active and serious exploration of the mystery of the created world, which at the same time carries enormous potential for the application of knowledge for creative action for the good of human beings and whole communities in various spheres. Furthermore, Benedict stipulates that in order to be able to speak of hope in action, it is necessary to take into account that human actions are assumed to be righteous, that is, good in ethical terms. According to the thought of Benedict, the Christian's commitment to the scientific knowledge of reality and the transformation of this world is valuable only in light of a great hope, whose source and guarantor is God. Otherwise, all actions and related hopes in the near or distant future will prove limited or false. Our daily efforts in pursuing our own lives and in working for the world's future either tire us or turn into fanaticism unless we are enlightened by the radiance of a great hope that cannot be destroyed even by small-scale failures or by a breakdown in matters of historic importance. And conclusion, Benedict points out that the way people act is never indifferent to God or to the development of history. At the same time, he emphasizes that people cannot build the kingdom of God by their own efforts, and that what they create always remain the kingdom of man, with all the limitations inherent in human nature. The Pope notes that in a world where the temptation and danger for man is to trust in the effectiveness and power of human means, the task of Christian is to discover and bear witness to the power of God. Thank you.